Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Network Show. My name is Ike Engelbaum. I'm the founder of the Entrepreneurs Network of Michigan, which is a group of motivated people that are all interested in helping each other in achieving our personal and professional goals. Our mission is to talk to people who have been in business, considering starting a business, as well as entrepreneurs who are successful and are willing to share their experiences, both the good ones and the bad ones. Because as it has been jokingly said, you should learn from the mistakes of others, because you'll never live long enough to make them all yourself. And I like to share experiences that I found have helped me and hopefully will help you. Today, it's my privilege to have two dynamic individuals who are of the entrepreneurial spirit. Jim Muir, who is a volunteer and also successful business person on his own. Jim Muir. Hello, Mr. Muir, sir.
Good to see you.
Okay, can I call you Jim? Is that okay?
Please do.
And my good friend Mark Grenzicki, who I've known for about 300 years,
At least.
who has been around the block, right?
Absolutely. Good to be
And
here.
are you tired yet? Mark, you helped me with our entrepreneur adventures. In fact, we have given you a title of the official community relations coordinator. So
Slash manager.
Slash manager, right. I keep forgetting that slash. Today I'd like to talk to you about something that's very close and dear to your heart, Jim, and that is SCORE. So step number one is, what is SCORE? What does the acronym originally stand for, and what's the mission?
Well, SCORE originally stood for the Service Corps of Retired Executives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's changed, the tagline has changed to For the Life of Your Business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we have not only retired folks, but people who are still working. We have people not only who are a little older, but we're getting a lot of people who are somewhat younger.
Mm-hmm.
Again, still working part-time or full-time in a variety of different disciplines.
And it's strictly volunteer. People that come do not get paid at all. So it's really my kind of people, because I'm a pharmacist, and my whole professional career has been built around the healthcare field of trying to help people that either are sick to get better, or people that want to stay healthy, how to do that. But instead of the healthcare field, you actually are helping the health of people in business, and in a way you can really make a life for people by giving them the right road to travel. Now, SCORE has got all kinds of different programs, and I understand you do workshops for SCORE, and it's a very nominal fee. Can you give us some idea of what the workshops consist of?
SCORE does two things primarily. It was originally set up to give advice to small businesses. We've put together a number of different educational programs. Each one of our chapters is different. Here in the Southeast Michigan area, nominally called the Detroit chapter, we have two series of workshops geared toward primarily people getting started in business. The first couple we label Business Plan 101 and Business Plan 102. Just sort of keep them straight.
Well, sounds simple.
Okay. So the first one is more about, you want to start a business. What do you do? What do you look at? How do you get set up? What issues should you consider having to do with your finances, your family, your knowledge base?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second one, 102, is more about marketing and social media and things like that. It's one thing to say, gee, I want to get set up in business.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to say, where are my customers going to come from? What colors should I have? Should I have a logo? What do I put on my website?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are all the things that I do to get people to know that I'm there, to come back and buy my product or use my service again, okay? And how do I look? Am I looking locally? Am I looking throughout the state? Am I looking nationally? Okay, so the marketing program, it's not really sales. It's how you market, the whole thing about your company and your products and yourself. Okay, so that's kind of setting the sound foundation for a business. The second group of workshops is what we call the business plan series. And rather than give them individually, we treat them as a whole series of 3. And the first one is on marketing research and competitive research. You really, regardless of what company you have, whether it's a technical product, whether it's a local business, you have to know your competitors. You should know your customers. And it's really hard sometimes for people to figure out just who is my customer. Second workshop is about financials. And people are scared about financials. What's in a profit and loss statement? What's in a balance sheet? Okay. So the challenge we have is to break down the barriers, make it seem like they can actually understand this and do it. The third one is actually writing the business plan and where do you get funding? Okay. There's actually a couple different kinds of business plans. There's one that's to be read. If you want to go to a bank, you want something that you can hand to someone that's going to be read by the loan officers, okay, and the loan committee. If you are looking for investors, you're looking for venture capitalists, you may want to have more of a presentation type of a business plan, okay? So those are the 5 basic workshops that we try and give to people who are typically starting their business. We have 2 other workshops right now. One is on how to write your own website. We give that 4 times a year. And also an SBA loan workshop. If you're thinking of getting an SBA loan, this is what you prepare for. And it actually applies to any loan, whether it's SBA or not.
Now, if someone is interested in the seminars, are they listed on your website, or how do they find out what's going on?
You can go to www.detroit.score.org, or you can leave off the W's.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, I understand you don't have to do that anymore. So it's Detroit.score.org.
And you will see on the menu, local workshops, and we will have them listed. There's also a calendar function on the home page. It's off on the right side. I believe it's in green, okay? And you can see what the listings are for the upcoming 3 or 4 months.
That's appropriate. Green for green money, is that it? And that's what people want to do, and many times they forget that you go into business to make a profit, right? A lot of people, and I want to address that for a minute with your indulgence, and that is that people come up with some sort of a great cookie recipe, and they figure they're going to be number 1 on the cookie chart, if there is such a chart, and don't realize that, am I going to be able to make money at this thing? So just to emphasize, which is very, very, very important, SCORE is a non-profit organization. So when they call you, there is not a fee on the initial consultation and the walkthrough, so to speak. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are not allowed by our SCORE operating manual, by our code of ethics, that we are not allowed to charge for services, okay? We provide advice. Our workshops, most of them have a small fee. It helps us. We are not fully funded, okay? So this helps us cover our operating cost. Any nonprofit has cost.
Right.
Like any business.
Right.
We have monthly meetings and financial reports like any business. We have a management structure.
So you really defray your costs. It's not like you're rolling in dough, so to speak. and type of prices I've heard are sometimes under $50 or something, and if you can't spend that kind of money to find out whether you're going to be going into a business venture, you better hold off until you got enough money to make a better decision, because they've said that if you feel that education is expensive, try ignorance. Okay, you can make more mistakes in trying to develop a business. And if you go on the open market, and I certainly have colleagues that are accountants and attorneys, and they're very good at their craft and what have you, but you coordinate your efforts with them when that person is ready. But I mean, it's very, very important. And the initial consultation that you provide, I would imagine you would probably be sort of a devil's advocate. I come to you with an idea. I assume that you would say, hey, have you thought about this? Is there a market for this? Do you sort of shine the flashlight as to what they should be looking at that they didn't think of?
Kind of depends about what the person is looking for. I tend to be a problem solver. So if someone comes to me, what is it you're trying to do? What answers are you looking for? What issues are important to you today? Okay, so it's more of a problem solving approach. Some of our folks, some of our mentors prefer to say, you think you want to get into business. Have you thought about this, 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 and this? And they go down a list, making sure people are introduced to the different things that you want to be concerned with. Where are you going to set up your operation? In the home or a storefront? What about insurance? Do you have an insurance agent? Who are the rest of your team? Your financial person, your accountant or CPA? Okay. Who's going to do your books? Do you have a lawyer? Do you have a partner? Do you have a partnership agreement? When you're writing a business plan, do you have an exit strategy? Something that when people get started, very few people look into. And then there are people all in between those things, the problem solving and just getting into the very basics of what you think of when you get started. Let's think of a startup for a minute. There are those people, I make cookies. I make great cookies, okay? I want to go into business making cookies, okay? Who's going to sell them? Who's going to do the distribution, okay? Where are you going to set up your commercial kitchen? All the way to people who have gotten their doors open, who are making the cookies, okay? Who do have some customers, and now they need to move into that next level of being a business owner. Gee, I've got revenues coming in. When do I pay myself? What do I do with employees? I've got to hire people. Okay? Different issues depending upon where you are in that continuum from when you had your idea or your thought you're going to get started to when you open your doors to when you say, I'm getting some traction here. I'm having fun. Now I want to make money. You mentioned green. It's very unusual for someone to come in and say, I'm doing it for the money. They do it because they enjoy what they're doing. They do it because they think there's an opportunity for all sorts of reasons. At some point, they have to pay themselves.
Right, and we unfortunately have to take a brief break, and we'll be right back. And Mark, you'll share your experience as a chef. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Our small business has been downtown 100 years, and we're really proud of how well it's doing in these hard economic times. But healthcare premiums have been rising. We were glad when the Affordable Care Act passed. We became eligible for a tax credit. We used that tax credit to hire a new employee. In our experience, the Affordable Care Act is a job creator. If you would like to know more about the Affordable Care Act for your business, go to knowyourcare.org.
And we're back, and we have Jim Muir and Mark Grenzicki. We were talking with Jim before the break in regards to the procedure, and you had a question that you wanted to have answered.
And one of the questions I had, if you attend a workshop and you think, well, this is, I'm going to need some help in this area and this area and this area, and you go to SCORE, and do you assign a mentor, or does the person just meet with a lot of different people that are in that area, or how does that really work?
Sometimes people see the counselor first or the mentor first and then come to workshops based on a recommendation. Other people attend the workshops because they heard of it, they wanted to get some education. Depending upon where they are, again, in this timeline for either being in business or starting their business, it's up to them to call and schedule an appointment, and then we will try and find someone either regionally in the same region or in the same industry. We will match them up the best we can, but it's up to them to request assistance.
So if they wanted to talk to someone that's doing a similar thing that they want to do, you can kind of match them up, and they can have maybe some discussion one-on-one with another cookie maker, for example, and kind of bounce ideas off them?
Yes. One of the women who is currently in our business plan series, I have the best background in SCORE for her project, but I also recommend that she work with another SCORE mentor on her financials, so that she got two different perspectives.
Now, you, Mark, were involved as a chef at one time, right?
Yes, I was.
And I bet you wished you had the SCORE around at that time.
I certainly do. I started right out of high school and went to work for a number of different businesses and ended up opening my own business up in northern Michigan. And we didn't have
this type of service.
No, because I've been to the SCORE facility in Oakland County, and I was very impressed with all the demographics that you have, and just such a wealth of information on the people that live in the county. And I know you're in other counties and actually nationwide, I believe, correct?
365 chapters nationwide.
Wow.
In Michigan.
That's almost one per day, huh?
Just about one per day.
You could go to all of one. But actually what I see was one of the most valuable commodities that SCORE offers is that you're talking to people who have been in business, and many times, if it's doable, you can talk to someone who has actually done that exact thing that you're considering, and nothing beats having been there and done that. I don't know how you take it. The more I hear you talk, Jim, the more I seem to think that maybe we should change the acronym again from senior core to senior coaches. How's that? And because you really coach somebody in their thinking process even before they get started, and then once they get started, if they run into some problems, SCORE is there for them as well, is it not?
We provide advice. We don't provide work. If you need some real work done, then you have to go to the accountants or the lawyers or whoever is the expert in the area. But for good advice and direction to help you as a business owner or as a business startup, what do I do? A lot of this may be new to me. And so this provides you some advice based on some good experience from our mentors. And now we can do online. So if we locally don't have anyone specifically in your industry, or there isn't a good fit for what you need, we can search out others nationally, telephone calls, emails, that sort of thing.
You can give them a directory of who they should be going to, because I keep thinking back at the healthcare field, my element, so to speak. You don't go to a podiatrist if you need brain surgery, okay? And a lot of people will go, and because they have a friend that is successful, they feel that they can do exactly what their friend is doing. what's that old saying? It's not what you know that will get you in as much trouble as what you think that you know that ain't so, okay? And a lot of times people have some quote-unquote dumb friend that's very successful in an area, say, well, if that person can do it, I can do it. I don't need any help. I'm going to go print up some business cards and blah, blah, blah. And that's one of the, we've shared that many times. And a lot of people that come to the Entrepreneurs Network, frankly, really don't know exactly which area to go. So from what I understand, SCORE does have actual worksheets and templates that someone can sort of fill in the blanks. Is that correct?
On our national website, score.org, there are free downloads on a number of subjects, and I believe some free videos and such like that. Again, it's very directional, very general, because it cuts across a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different types of industries. Okay, and that's SCORE. And SCORE is one of those educational opportunities. I know your organization has speakers and does other things. There are a lot of those kinds of opportunities here in Southeast Michigan. I mean, in Oakland County, we're very fortunate to have the county really sponsoring a good group like that. But it's any place you can get that education. So if you go to score.org, there are free downloads, okay? Mm-hmm. I forget the exact place but you can find it.
You can scroll it down, that's the key.
You hit the different menus
scroll for SCORE,
and you'll find it.
Somewhere at, it's there, and I visited your Oakland County Executive office there, and I was just so amazed as to how easy it is, really, if someone is serious about wanting to go in business, as to how you support them, because you've got computers there right on site, and then you've got charts over there that I always assumed that if you went on the private area, you'd have to spend some serious money. You've got the entire
serious money. Really serious money.
Right, especially figuring out the demographics, getting back to our cookies. Where are the more high-end cookies being sold? And you've got broken down graphically on a map by color what the actual value of the home is, how many people in that family, how many kids they have. This is all available, and if you're in business, those are the facts that can mean the difference between success and failure, didn't it?
It helps you do the research when you're getting started. Once you've gotten some traction and you're doing your annual strategic plan or your sales plan or your expansion plan, it's a great resource to say, I've got my one cookie shop. Where should I put the next one? Okay? Or should I lift up here and move over there? And not only do you have the technical resources, you have the people behind it to help you learn how to do these things.
Right. Well, you know, one of the lessons that I've learned over the years is that if you indeed want to sell cookies, go to some trade shows and pay for an exhibit and give out samples of your cookie to see what sort of a response that you have. You know, you can't just assume that because your family likes your cookie that somehow the rest of the world does it. And you got to know your market, how many people are out there. And likewise, although I always hear that great saying that competition is good, it makes you sharper. Yeah, that's true, but competition also takes away from the total part of the amount of business that's available. So rather than throwing yourself into a den where there's umpteen cookie shops in a particular zip code, why not open up in an area where there are fewer cookie shops and you are sort of the leader of the pack? And as far as your experience, Jim, are there any thoughts that you want to share with us as far as the entrepreneurial mind goes, as to what have you seen makes the difference in a lot of ventures that become successful or in some that fail?
How much time do you have?
I see. Well, we have about 15
So,
minutes, maybe 10
what
minutes.
we have is, I'd like to share one thing on your previous slide. Okay. If you think you can sell the cookies, remember, only so many cookies are sold. If someone's going to buy your cookies, they're not going to buy somebody else's.
Mhm.
Okay. So you got to have something special, whatever it is, to be able to get in the market and get someone else's customers. And that goes whether you're doing cookies or cars, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Okay. I know we talk a lot about business plans.
Mhm.
I'm more of an advocate of the business model. What is the structure that you have strategically when you're starting up?
Mhm.
What is the operational model you have when you're starting up? Once you get moving along, does that strategic model change? Does, of course, now that you're working, the operational model is obviously different. If we think of what makes people successful, I think back to the original business model, and I'm sort of making this up, but think about McDonald's when they got started. Inexpensive food, all takeout, you hired teenagers, a limited menu. If you watch Kitchen Nightmares or one of those types of shows these days, what are they doing? They're shrinking the menus.
Right.
They look at quality and they look at the people. It's the same thing that McDonald's started with back in the 1950s. And here we have it after the turn of the millennium. Okay, so keeping a good focus in watching what are the key success factors that are going to get you started, set you apart in your market. And yes, if the market is crowded, it's either because there's a lot of people that you can go and you can get a piece of that market, or the market's underserved and therefore you have an opportunity.
Right, and you can tweak it as you go along with some help.
And I'd like
And you tweak it along with the experience that you gain. I mentioned that education. You know, the mistakes we make, whether it's our fault or not, doesn't matter. That's all educational. Okay, so we will pay for that education one way or the other.
Right, but I want to stress one very, very important part to the McDonald's story, because I read about Ray Kroc's rise, is that he took a product, they had a great hamburger, and he tagged along through milkshakes and said, hey, we can franchise this. And maybe we'll talk about that on our next visit, because unfortunately we've plumb run out of time. And when you're having funds, the time goes quickly, right? And I only have enough time to leave the folks with my favorite thought, that if you really want to get anything done in life, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. And there is no excuse for not achieving your dreams and goals in America, because it's the greatest country in the whole world. Remember, a goal is just a dream with a deadline.